Hi, I'm Kim, and this is An Oasis of Books. So I was tagged by Justin at Triumphal Reads for this video, which is not actually an official tag video, but basically sorta. The originator of this video was Robert at Robert G. Reader of Books. And the video is entitled 8 Questions for Readers. Questions that have really nothing to do with books. Now, Justin was tagged by Book Chat with Pat, and I'm going to link down below in the description Justin's channel, Triumphal Reads, Pat's channel, Book Chat with Pat, and the originator of this video, 8 Questions for Readers, Robert's channel, Robert G. Reader of Books, so that you can go check out all their videos, which are excellent. So what is this video all about? It's exactly what it says it is. 8 questions for readers that don't have anything to do with books. So Robert thought that it would be interesting to see if a large group of real readers might have similar answers to these types of questions. He said he's not planning to do an analysis of these answers, but he's open to someone else doing that. If there's enough responses, both in video format and in comments, someone could take it on themselves to, sort through them all and come up with some sort of analysis. Now, I'm not sure that there would be a lot in common between us as readers when it comes to these types of questions, but I can see, at least with some of them, that, there just might be. It is a very curious endeavor. All right, let's get into the questions. Number 1 is, what is your favorite kind of food? My 2 favorite kinds of food are Chinese and Mexican. Now, I didn't grow up with these. I grew up with just a hodgepodge of very inexpensive meals that I do love, beans and cornbread and goulash and stuff like that. But now, as an adult, my favorite foods are Chinese, number 1, and number 2, Mexican. This is probably because I lived in China for several years and learned to cook Chinese food from actual Chinese friends who, could show me how simple it was and yet what the tricks were. And I just love the taste and the style of this type of cooking. Very simple, but oh so delicious. As far as Mexican food goes, well, I was born and raised and still live in Northern California, and Mexican food is all around me and I love it. So as an adult, I began learning actually how to make some of the dishes, but it's more just the natural kinds of easy foods that are Mexican in nature that we make all the time at home. And, I grow a lot in my garden that I use in both the Chinese and the Mexican cooking, and that makes it a lot of fun too. Question number 2, what is your favorite kind of music? Well, I love classical music, and it's a good thing I did because all of my children played instruments and were in bands and orchestras growing up, so I've been to a lot of performances, and I've heard a lot of practicing. A couple of my kids even majored in music in college. So yes, I do love classical music. And then far beneath that, a far second would be, I'm not even sure what the actual genre would be, but I like singer-songwriters like James Taylor and Sarah Bareilles. And I have to be in the right mood to listen to their music, I was going to say, but any music with actual words. I much prefer just the instruments. But that's what I like to listen to when I listen to music. Question number 3 is, if I were prevented from ever reading again, what would I do with my time? Well, that would be pretty horrible, wouldn't it? Well, the reason I read is out of curiosity. I love to explore new things, new ideas, new concepts, new peoples, new places. I just love learning. And whether it's nonfiction or fiction, there is just so much to learn out there. I, of course, also like to be entertained. I love a great story. So how does that translate? If I wasn't able to read again, number 1, I would travel more. I love traveling. I make a point of going to every small town and museum I possibly can because I'm obsessed with history, most especially California Gold Rush history, but really any kind of 19th century pioneering history. So I love going to places where I can feel like I'm walking and living right where all these other people hundreds of years ago lived and walked and experienced life. And yeah, so I would travel a lot more, both in the US and abroad. I've only traveled abroad in a small way. I did live and work in China for several years, but other than that, I've only gone to, well, Canada, of course, because it's pretty close. I've been all over Canada, but also Uganda. I was able to visit there for a few weeks when one of my kids worked there. And that was absolutely amazing. So I would love to travel all over the world because what a way to experience life. What a way to learn more. What a way to satisfy my curiosity more, be entertained. Yeah, it would be the second best thing to reading. And at home, let's say I couldn't afford to do all that traveling. At home, I would use that extra time to do hobbies that I already do, but don't have enough time to do them. That would be baking, gardening, also crocheting, journaling, yeah, that kind of thing. Question number 4, what is your favorite city? Well, I don't really like cities that much. I like the countryside and I love small towns, but I would say definitely my favorite city is San Francisco. Yes, it's nearby. It's about 2.5 hours away. And when I was growing up, it was about an hour away from where I lived. So I have been there many, many, many times. I love going there. It is such an interesting city. It's not a huge city like New York City, which I have been to New York City a couple of times and I did love it in some ways. When I went to New York City, the two things I loved the most were going up on the top of the Empire State Building and doing the audio tour where it took you around to different spots on the roof and you were looking out at different, vantage points of the city and you were hearing this guy, this New Yorker in the most ultimate New York accent telling you the history of New York as if he was, a character from history. And that was pretty awesome. I did like that. The other thing I liked about New York City was walking around in the bohemian districts and where all the little theaters and such were and the little tiny cafes, and that was pretty excellent too. It reminded me of the settings of a lot of my cozy mysteries I enjoy. But getting back to the question, my favorite city, definitely San Francisco. It has so much history in it that I can feel so well, probably because that history is so recent. The effects of that history, the signs of that history are very much obvious, from the 1906 earthquake to the very foundings of the city. And because I study that time period when the gold rush happened and San Francisco went from a little tiny village to a large city, I'm familiar with it. I love exploring it, going up and down its hills, not so much on foot anymore, and finding places that were there 100, 150 or more years ago. Other than San Francisco, I love going to old ghost towns, old mining towns. Again, it is as if I can feel the ghosts of these people from the past walking alongside me when I'm in these places. All right, moving on. Question number 5 is a lot simpler. It is, what is your favorite alcoholic beverage? I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but back in the day, I loved a good classic margarita, and I would not say no to one now. I don't really like sweet alcoholic beverages, but a good classic margarita or a gin and tonic, that would hit the spot. As far as wine goes, I like a nice white wine, not sweet again. And then number 6, what is your favorite non-alcoholic beverage? Well, I love me some great, strong, dark coffee. Don't put anything else in it, just the coffee, hot or iced. Yeah, that is one of my absolute favorite things to drink. I also love herbal teas, and I grow a ton of my own herbs, and I like those either iced or hot. I can use them just for the flavor or medicinally, but yeah, iced teas, they're pretty great. If you haven't tried them before, grow yourself some herbs. You can treat a lot of minor ailments and some significant ones with herbs, and it tastes good too. So question number 7 is, what is your favorite time of the day? I would say it always has been and is even more so now early in the morning. My favorite time of the day is about 5 a.m. to about 9 a.m. And depending on the season, I'm doing different things at that time of day. In the summer, I'm outside watering at that time of day to beat the heat. And if I'm not, if it's autumn or if it's spring, then I'm outside just enjoying nature. I might be reading. I might just be, listening to the birds. I might be doing some photography, or I might be puttering around in the garden or the orchard. But yeah, summer, it's pretty much full-time watering at that time of the day, but I'm still enjoying nature all around me and solitude. And in the winter and even in the late autumn and really early spring, I am enjoying that solitude in the morning in the house because no one else is up then. And that started back when, I was a younger and a middle-aged mom and I had lots of little children. They didn't get up that early. So that was my alone time, my me time. I like journaling and reading at that time if I'm not outside. And yeah, it remains my favorite time of day. My secondary favorite time of the day is the evening from about 7 to 10 p.m. And probably again for the same reason. Solitude, nature, and books. I can spend that time with those things that I love. And the last question number 8, is what is my favorite season? This has changed quite radically in recent years. Until about 6 years ago, all my life, my favorite season was the summer. But when I hit my 50s, especially as I approached mid-50s, that was no longer the case. The heat finally started bothering me. And I must say that the heat we get here in Northern California, far Northern California, is quite intense. Other than this summer, which has been very strange, we usually get between 105 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit for many weeks during our summers. They're very hot, and we never see any rain for 6 to 8 months. So that never bothered me. I loved that until, when I hit about 54, I said, you know what? I don't love this anymore. In fact, I don't even like this anymore. In fact, I really can't stand this anymore. And for a while, I thought I was going to have to move. But I really like so much else about Northern California that I've learned workarounds. And now I just do everything outside really early in the morning or really late in the evening. And I spend the rest of the day away from the blazing, intense heat of that sun. That's pretty much solved the issue for me. And now my favorite seasons of the year are the fall, because the summer is now behind me and fall is so cozy. I love the colors of fall. I love, wearing sweaters. I love the vibes of fall in so many ways. And when I really think about it, it probably goes back to my childhood, because fall, September, back then, now it's August, but back then September used to be when in the US we went back to school after Labor Day, and the leaves were starting to fall back then at that time. Climate change and changes in our schooling system has altered that. But for me, September was always going back to school, which was also going back to books, the library, because until I was about 11, I did not have access to the public library, and the only place I could get a hold of books was at school, at the school library. So it was a very big reason why I wanted to get back to school in the fall. And that has hung on, even today, I feel that urge to go book shopping when it comes fall. And nowadays I try to get to the thrift stores and the used library sales even more so once September hits. I also love spring now. It's a close second to autumn for me as a favorite season. I've always loved nature, and I've always loved hiking and such. But when I became a truly avid gardener and orchardist about 10 or 11 years ago, I became even more involved with nature. And spring, when everything wakes up from the winter sleep, it's just such an exciting time, such a refreshing time to start over. You have a blank slate and all that beauty just pours forth from the earth. I love it. So fall, spring, they're both great seasons. Winter, well, I don't like winter, even though we don't really get any cold weather per se. We don't even get any snow, which, I wouldn't mind a little bit of that now and then. But The darkness of winter really plays with my mental health, but I just now take it as the opportunity to read and read and read. And so that helps balance out the negatives of winter. So I hope you have enjoyed this little peek into my life outside of books. And I would love it if in the comments below, or if you're a creator in your own video, if you could give your answers to these questions. I do think it will be interesting to see if Robert is correct that there might be quite a few similarities between readers like us when it comes to unrelated, seemingly, categories, questions like these. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon with another video. Until then, happy reading.